Hey, how's it going there, folks? Welcome back here to another update here on this Friday night. It is the Earthmaster out here, about 11:21 p.m. here. Friday, July 24th, or July 12th, excuse me, 2024. Not quite at the end of July yet. Latest activity here on the Earthquake 3D globe shows a 2.4 into the Alaska area. Is the latest earthquake there on the globe. Notice a little increasing movement out here across the Aleutian Trench here today. A couple of those earthquakes through the Cook Inlet area. Nothing big. Did see a 3.9 out here in the mix of all this earthquake activity, but definitely a little bit of an uptick going on across the northern edge of the Pacific and the North American plate boundary here, that major subduction zone called the Aleutian Trench. Also 4.5 over here in the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench, 67 kilometers for that earthquake. Let's go ahead and check out the Pacific Northwest up here, see if we had any further activity following all the excitement out here along the near the Cascadia subduction zone over the last couple weeks here. 4.8, that was early this morning. Since then, nothing being reported up here, but it looks like a little bit of migration here along the Blanco fracture zone for a 3.6 earlier this afternoon time. And since then, like I say, Northern California is pretty quiet. There's nothing going on there. Not a whole lot of inland quake activity. If you look at the movement here near Mount St. Helens, most of this activity from late last night and early this morning. But let's check the tremor map here tonight, see what's going on here for the Cascadia tremor. Notice, wow, that's all we got. Six epicenters, and it just happens to be here at the northern end of the Cascadia subduction zone here, towards the northern end of the Vancouver Island ranges, and that's pretty crazy. Just a little bit. We've been seeing quite a bit of movement up here recently in terms of tremor counts, and it's going down. But it's still just kind of watching everything, because we've had a lot of earthquake activity out here in these fracture zones. And then prior to that, a whole bunch of tremor activity out here across the Cascadia. So continuing to keep an eye on that area. The Bay region of California here, mostly smaller microquakes, as you can see. Really nothing big going on aside from up here. And that's not even big activity. This is very typical movement around the Clear Lake volcanic field. Hydrothermal plants are creating some inner green energy. Further down south, Southern California, as you can see, not a whole lot going on down there aside from some very small microquakes. If I were to show you guys the 2.5 map and above, well, that's what it would look like out here. Not a whole lot. I guess the latest one there, 2.9 at the northern end of the Greenville Fault. Further out and about here, Yellowstone National Park. There's a couple earthquakes here listed on the map from early this morning, but I do want to double check, see how things are looking on the graph. We did have some thunderstorms roll through here earlier. That's the that's going to be this reading right here that you guys see. Those are not magma movement or any other type of activity aside from thunderstorms that move through there. I was looking at that on the windy map here earlier, and this is the Yellowstone area. A trail of thunderstorms here that went through the Yellowstone region earlier this afternoon, which has since died down. And that's why we've seen things taper off since then. But yeah, it stirs up the seismograph stations quite nicely. And, you know, if you didn't know what you were looking at here, one could suspect this looks like magma movement. You know, any other volcano, it's similar to a signature of some fluid movement, but it's not. That's those thunderstorms rolling through. All right, what else we got here? Texas, Oklahoma. Not really anything major to chat about here aside from the typical movement in the some of the oil fields out there. A broader view of the region here in the Central Pacific. See what we got. Latest activity, a couple ones out here, fairly shallow. Let's see here. I don't know if this one's going to be accurate or not. This may get revised. That's kind of an odd spot to see a very shallow earthquake offshore. We're still seeing a little bit of movement up here across the summit area. Let's see what we got here for the latest volcano hazards map from the USGS, where the volcano there on the Big Island, Kilauea still sits at a yellow and advisory. Earthquake activity limited here to the just south of the caldera or the summit region and the upper east rift zone. As far as the deformation data goes, let's see what we got. There we go. A little bit of a zigzag pattern here. It's been going up and up and up here in terms of inflation recently. This is the vertical displacement here, inflation across the summit and east rift zone over the past week. A little bit of odd activity here in the last 12 hours or so with this pattern. We'll have to watch it, see what it wants to do, if it's going to come back up, which it should, unless something major has changed since the all this movement around the Pacific plate here recently. We'll have to definitely watch that. For now, just some general earthquake activity, and the only thing that I see, let's see what we've got over here. A couple shallow quakes there on Mauna Loa west side. The only thing that I see of any interesting development is this pattern here across the Helena slump area, and you know, you don't need a whole bunch of earthquake activity out here along with an eruption that could create a decent landslide out here into the ocean. And there's been a couple scenarios on what would happen if that did take place. I've covered that a time or two in past videos, but right now I don't think it's of any concern unless we see some major increasing activity out here across this region. South America still seeing quite the uptick down here following the event out in the East Pacific Rise here yesterday. We've seen a 5.8 this earthquake right here. That appears as though it stirred up a lot of activity here in this region. And this is a divergent boundary, separation of the seafloor. It's going to be this area right here on the plate tectonic map. Notice the two arrows pointing away from each other. That adds further increasing strain here against the Peru-Chile Trench, and that is looking quite active here today. Quite a few 4s, even a couple 5s in there in the Peru area from earlier this morning. So we'll keep an eye on this area, showing some increasing movement. New Zealand down there looks like a couple smaller quakes, nothing of any major concern. Get some return of deeper activity here into the Tonga Trench, but we're still lacking a little bit of activity, or a little bit of area here around Solomon Islands across the Vanuatu region. Remember, this is the area roughly in this area here. I mentioned here to watch pretty closely. We did see some earthquake activity fill in here today with a couple 5s and a 4-pointer in there as well, but generally this whole area has been awfully quiet over the last 10 days or so, and that's quite rare to see really no decent earthquake activity out here in that time period. So continue to keep an eye on that quiet zone. Let's see what else we got. Looks like there was a 4.2 off the coast here of Japan, fairly recent. That one not showing up here on the USGS map, but there is there on the Earthquake 3D globe. 5.3 here a little bit further down along the Filipino plate here, right smack dab here on the plate boundary. Decent subduction zone sits right here, and of course this is where that swarming occurred a couple months ago in this area, which has since calmed down, but still just a little odd that we didn't see anything really major happen from that. I guess, you know, one could consider that aftershock activity from that I think it was a 7-pointer that struck out here a couple months back, but it was a pretty incredible swarm. Let's see, further down the line here, Mediterranean area, a lot of older quake activity out here. These red color rings indicating older movement. Not a whole lot of newer quake activity there for now, but look at that cluster going on there in the South America area. Quite the unzipping going on there. All right, let's check out Iceland, see if we got anything new to chat about there in the Iceland area. Still looking at fairly minimal earthquake activity here in the last 12 hours. Not a whole lot down here around our area of interest, around the Grindavik area. Still watching this because we are going up and down, or actually we're going up. Really no downturn in terms of the vertical displacement there with the inflation. Let's see, where are I need to reorganize this, right? Then I could click it and not waste so much time. But one of these days I'll get to it. I just have a lot of bookmarks there, and they're all very important. Here's a GPS graph here. Notice still going up. This is the vertical displacement in mm. Here's the last eruption there back into May. Really, we're pretty close. Getting pretty close here to the level that was seen just before the eruption. So, it's potentially we could see things kick up at any time now. And of course, the key to watching for the eruption is going to be the earthquake activity, which is very minimal right now. This update was put out a couple days ago, so really nothing new there from the Icelandic Met Office. Space weather activity, we did see a little bit of uptick here from our sunspot, 3738. That's going to be this region right here, which is more further out here towards the western area of the sun now. I'm really surprised it didn't shoot off any further strong flares when it was directly facing the Earth, but we picked up an M flare, it looks like, a low-grade M flare. Are we working? Looks like the space weather folks are having some issues there. Hello, McFly. Oh, there we go. All right, a little bit of long-duration M flare activity here, as you can see. Not a big M flare, but it was definitely a full long-duration event. Let's see here. Kick up the movie and see what we can see real quick here. Let's see. This one's going to cover a little bit longer time period, but I wanted to see if it blasted off any CME activity with this latest flare. This was just a day or so ago, and now we're getting into the time period here where we're at right now. Let's see, we should see that M flare kick up very soon. Well, wow, did I miss it? Okay, that's a little odd. Really not seeing anything. Oh, right there, maybe. Yep, little M flare that kicked up. So, it doesn't look like there's any associated CME with that, but we'll still watch it and see if anything changes here on the graph. We are looking at maybe potentially here a little bit of CME activity over the next well, this is July 13th, 2100. July 13th, 2100 would be much later this afternoon. So yeah, it doesn't look like we're going to see too much in the way of the auroras out there. This was somewhat an elevated uptick because of that coronal hole that had been facing us here a couple days back, number 52, which is now further out on the western limb. Another one up here, which is, these are just very minor coronal holes, and don't really expect much from those. It's mainly the large CMEs that are associated with a prominence eruption or a significant flare. Looking at these sunspots again, really about the only one of any interest right now is going to be this area due to the complexity that it harbors. The rest of these sunspots here are looking fairly minimal. There's a little bit of growth here within this sunspot that we'll keep an eye on, but and a couple other spotty sunspots out there in the far eastern limb that may be developing a little bit, but overall not a whole lot of excitement there on the sun currently. Got the moon out there shining almost half full. Beautiful. Let's see what else we got here. Check out. Really no major severe weather in the forecast here. There's a slight risk over the next couple days, mainly around the northern plain states. Let's check out what's going on out here as far as any hurricanes. I want to see what these weather models are forecasting. We're going to check out the North Atlantic out here. Got a massive dominant high pressure system out there in the Atlantic. Goodness. So as we put this into motion here, that is keeping any tropical development well south here of the area. Massive high pressure. I don't see anything as far as long-term potential, which is good in terms of tropical development. Out here in the Pacific, I've seen something coming off the coast there of Mexico. Let's put this back a little bit and see what we got. There's a little development that went off this main moisture stream. Got to watch that here. That may shoot up towards the Hawaii Islands, which is roughly about here. But then it looks like it dissipates. But man, we got massive high pressures all over the place. This right here is not good. Going to be an interesting year. I know we're shooting towards the La Nina for the wintertime. A decent chance of seeing the La Nina, which basically means some drier conditions out here for California. But we've seen some pretty wet conditions out there in certain La Nina events as well. So it all depends. But it's been a hot, super hot summer so far, and it is not over, folks. Not over by a long shot. Shooting way into next weekend here. We got a lot of heat building back out here in this region. I mean, it never goes away. It's just cooking the West Coast. And really, there's no pattern, no major change here that would cool any of us down for now. I know it's summertime, and a lot of people love the heat. We still got the rest of July. August, September can be super hot months out here in California. So I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this heat right now. Looking at the fires out here, what's going on? Across the country, or the West Coast. Wow, looks like the whole country's on fire. Probably not, but there's quite a few fires out there. Northern California got a pretty big one up here in the mountains called the Shelley Fire. They got 1% containment on it. It's been burning for quite a while. Sometimes they let these fires just burn out here if there's no structures that are threatened. Plus, it's hard to get into with the rugged terrain and no access roads. There's all the satellite imagery-based hot spots all over the place, and this will continue to burn for some time, I'm sure. Really no major populated areas out here, and it's just in the wilderness, burning up more of the forest. Over 10,000 acres, 1% containment. Nothing major here across the rest of Northern California or Southern California. What's this one? The Lake Fire. This is a pretty decent sized one. 38,000 acres, 19% containment. Burning up here in the mountain ranges there. Unfortunately, we do have a potential dry lightning event coming up here this weekend. Let me go back to the windy map and show you guys real quick. We got some monsoonal moisture coming in. Unfortunately, there's not going to be a whole lot of moisture with it, but these are all CAPE values indicative of convection potential. And most of the lightning threats are going to be up here in the mountain ranges, and that's not good news because it's very dry, and a couple of lightning strikes up there could easily start some big, huge wildfires. And it's not just one day. We got literally Saturday, Sunday. I don't think we had any today. A little bit down south, but Saturday and Sunday. Monday kind of scoots out of here, but we got to watch this weekend because I'm afraid we're going to see some further fires out here because of all the potential lightning that could be coming out of these thunderstorms with very limited moisture. All right, that's it, folks. I'm going to bed. Friday night, I'd love to be in bed by 8 or 9 o'clock, but that just doesn't seem to happen. Seems like the older I get, the earlier I want to go to bed, right? It just sounds so enjoyable, relaxing. That way you can wake up early in the morning and get up before most people get up and enjoy the quietness. But yeah. All right, folks, have a good night. We'll catch you guys back out here for the Saturday morning update. All the seismograph stations out here look pretty quiet. There's not a whole lot going on, but still, just be prepared. Seen a lot of activity out here recently there in the Cascadia, and it's just, maybe a little temporary pause. Maybe it's over. Who knows? We'll continue to watch that and report back on anything that changes out here. Enjoy your evening. We'll catch you guys back out here early in the morning, Saturday morning update. Take care.